Napoleon Hill. Why most people never become successful. They say success leaves clues, but most people never learn to read them. They wander through life like travelers with no map, chasing mirages, mistaking movement for progress, and calling their confusion fate. They dream of greatness, but wake up to mediocrity. They speak of ambition, yet live by excuses. And if you ask them why, they'll tell you stories of bad luck, of unfair breaks, of circumstances that conspired against them. But the truth is that most people never become successful because they never decide to. Napoleon Hill once wrote, "There is one quality which one must possess to win definiteness of purpose, the knowledge of what one wants, and a burning desire to possess it." Most people never light that fire. They wait for permission to believe in themselves. They wait for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, the perfect mood. And while they wait, life moves on. Look around you. The world is full of half-finished dreams, abandoned projects, ideas that could have changed the course of history if only someone had the courage to see them through. Somewhere, buried beneath the noise of doubt and distraction, lie inventions that were never built, songs that were never sung, businesses that were never born, all because someone chose comfort over courage. Success begins long before the world applauds you. It begins in the silence of your own mind when you decide that no matter what, you will not quit until the vision inside you becomes reality. That's where every great story begins. That's where Edison began in a dark laboratory filled with failure, where Carnegie began as a poor immigrant with nothing but an idea and an obsession to rise, where Henry Ford began not as an industrial titan, but as a man mocked for believing he could build a car affordable for everyone. They all faced ridicule, setbacks, betrayal, but they understood something the average man never learns. You are the only obstacle between where you are and where you want to be. Every excuse you hold on to becomes a chain. Every doubt you entertain becomes a wall. Every time you say, "maybe later," you bury your dream a little deeper. And here's the hardest truth of all. Most people never become successful because they spend their lives escaping discomfort rather than chasing growth. They want the mountain view, but not the climb. They want the reward, but not the responsibility. They want success to find them while they stand still. But success is not a gift. It's a conquest. It's the result of discipline, desire, and deliberate thought. It's the price you pay for refusing to live like everyone else. Napoleon Hill didn't write, "Think and grow rich to entertain the comfortable." He wrote it to awaken the powerful, to remind you that wealth, power, purpose, and peace of mind begin in the mind itself. You don't attract success by wishing for it. You attract it by becoming the kind of person success can't ignore. You attract it through thought, through faith, through persistence that defies logic. Most people never become successful because they never learn to really think. They let fear do their thinking for them. They let their environment define their beliefs. They let other people's opinions sculpt their destiny. Ask yourself, whose voice is shaping your life right now? Is it the voice of vision or the voice of fear? The voice of faith or the voice of doubt? Because one will make you and the other will destroy you. Success is not found in books alone, or in luck, or in talent. It's found in the quiet discipline of controlling your thoughts. It's found in the courage to believe in the unseen. It's found in the burning desire that refuses to die. Napoleon Hill once said that every adversity carries within it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. Most people never find that seed because they give up before they dig deep enough. They quit when it hurts. They retreat when they fail. They see defeat as final when in truth it's only a detour. The successful understand that life tests you not to punish you, but to prepare you. It's not the obstacles that stop you. It's your decision to stop at the obstacle. Every failure you face is a mirror reflecting the question, how badly do you want it? And most people answer with silence. They start strong, full of enthusiasm and hope, but the moment the road turns uphill, they turn back. They blame circumstances, time, luck, fate, or even God. But success doesn't care for excuses, only results. It rewards the stubborn, the disciplined, the ones who dare to keep going when logic says, quit. The truth is simple, but brutal. You either master your mind or your mind masters you. And most people have surrendered without realizing it. They've allowed fear to dictate their choices, comfort to dull their ambition, and distraction to waste their potential. They call it realism. They call it balance. But what it really is, surrender, because deep down they know they were meant for more. Every man and woman feels it, that quiet whisper that says there's something greater inside you. But few ever answer it. They drown it out with noise, routine, comfort, until that whisper becomes a faint memory. But for the few who listen, for the few who dare to believe that their mind holds the key to everything they seek, the world begins to shift. Because the moment you decide that success is not optional, but inevitable, the universe starts to rearrange itself in your favor. They say the mind is a garden. What you plant, you will harvest. Most people spend their lives planting weeds, doubts, fears, comparisons, and complaints, then wonder why their garden never blooms. They water those weeds daily with negative thoughts, gossip, and self-pity. And when the harvest comes, failure, frustration, mediocrity, they curse the soil. But the soil was never the problem. The problem was the seed. The problem was the gardener. Napoleon Hill taught that thoughts are things, powerful, living forces that shape reality. Every success, every empire, every innovation began as a single thought, invisible, intangible, yet unstoppable once it took root in the mind of a believer. Thomas Edison failed 1,000 times before creating the light bulb. Do you think he saw failure? No, he saw feedback. He saw progress. He saw the shaping of his destiny through persistence. He refused to see defeat because his mind had already decided victory. And that's the secret most people miss. Your outer world is a reflection of your inner world. You can't think defeat and live victory. You can't think fear and expect faith. You can't think scarcity and expect abundance. The battlefield of life is not out there, it's in here, inside your mind, inside the silent war between belief and doubt, between what you desire and what you tolerate. Most people tolerate too much mediocrity. They tolerate the wrong job, the wrong circle, the wrong habits, and then wonder why life feels wrong. But successful people are ruthless with themselves. They refuse to tolerate weakness, laziness, or distraction. They understand that self-mastery is the foundation of all achievement. You cannot control the economy. You cannot control the weather. You cannot control other people. But you can control what you think. And that control, that inner dominion, is the birthplace of success. When you master your mind, you master your destiny. That's why Napoleon Hill called it the mastermind, the mind that bends circumstances rather than bows to them, the mind that creates opportunity out of chaos, the mind that believes when everyone else doubts. Do you know what separates the dreamers from the doers? It's not intelligence, it's not education, it's belief combined with action. Dreamers wait for the world to be ready. Doers make the world ready. Dreamers talk about someday. Doers start today. The path to success is not built on miracles, it's built on habits. Tiny, invisible disciplines repeated until excellence becomes inevitable. Andrew Carnegie said, "The man who acquires the habit of going the extra mile is seldom forced to take the back seat." But most people never go the extra inch. They do just enough to get by, never enough to stand out. And then they wonder why opportunity never knocks. Opportunity doesn't knock. It waits at the end of the extra mile. It appears only to those who move with purpose when others hesitate. It reveals itself only to those who have trained their mind to think forward when others retreat. You see, success has a language, and that language is discipline. Discipline is doing what must be done, whether you feel like it or not. Discipline is the bridge between imagination and manifestation. Without it, dreams remain dreams. With it, thoughts become tangible, visions become visible, and belief becomes power. Most people think discipline is punishment. They think routine kills freedom. But the truth is, discipline creates freedom. The disciplined man is free to act, free to rise, free to choose his destiny. The undisciplined man is a slave to his emotions, to his habits, to his distractions. He moves wherever life pushes him. He reacts instead of creating. Napoleon Hill said, "Self-discipline begins with the mastery of your thoughts. If you do not control your thoughts, you cannot control your needs." That is the dividing line between the successful and the unsuccessful. The successful think intentionally. The unsuccessful think accidentally. Most people don't even realize how negative their self-talk has become. They speak failure into existence long before life proves them right. They say, "I can't." They say, "It's too hard." They say, "Maybe it's not meant for me." And the universe, obedient as always, echoes back, "As you wish." Your words are commands to your subconscious. Every sentence you speak builds or breaks your future. So, what are you speaking into your life? What do your daily thoughts sound like when no one is listening? If your inner dialogue is full of fear, you will live a fearful life. If it's full of faith, you will live a faithful one. The mind does not care what you plant, it will grow whatever you feed it. So feed it power, feed it vision, feed it gratitude, courage, and certainty. Because what you feed your mind will one day feed your reality. The tragedy is that most people never discover the power sitting between their ears. They treat the mind like a tool for survival, not creation. They use it to worry, not to imagine. They use it to recall the past, not to build the future. And so, they live the same year 70 times and call it a life. But the awakened few, the ones who take Hill's words to heart, they know the mind is a gold mine. And like all gold mines, it only yields its treasure to those willing to dig. The lazy never dig deep enough. They hit a little dirt, a little resistance, and quit. But the ones who keep digging, who keep believing, who keep thinking on a higher frequency, they strike something eternal. Because when you master your mind, life begins to obey you. You stop chasing things and start attracting them. You stop begging for opportunities and start creating them. You stop being a passenger and start being the driver of your destiny. That's why Napoleon Hill said, "Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve." Not because the universe bends to fantasy, but because faith turns thought into action, and action turns desire into destiny. There comes a moment in every person's life when they feel the pull of something, greater, a quiet, unexplainable sense that they were born to do more, to be more, to give more. But that moment is fleeting. It comes like a whisper, easily drowned by the noise of routine and fear. Most people ignore it. They trade destiny for distraction. They bury their purpose under the weight of convenience. But those who listen, truly listen, discover the greatest truth of all. Success is not something you chase. It's something you become. It's the natural byproduct of living with purpose so strong, it burns through every excuse. Purpose is the compass of the soul. Without it, you wander. With it, you move with precision. It gives meaning to pain and direction to effort. Without purpose, effort feels empty. Work becomes labor. With purpose, every struggle becomes sacred. Napoleon Hill wrote that every man who achieves lasting success first finds a definiteness of purpose. 1. Central aim that unites his thoughts, emotions, and actions. Carnegie's purpose was steel. Ford's was mobility. Disney's was imagination. Each of them started with a vision that no one else could see and refused to let the blindness of others weaken their faith. The world laughed at Ford's horseless carriage. It called Disney's dream of a magic kingdom childish. It doubted Edison's light and mocked Carnegie's ambition. But purpose gave them power, because when you know why you're doing something, you can survive anyhow. Most people never become successful because they never clarify their purpose. They chase 100 goals halfway instead of one goal all the way. They confuse activity with achievement, motion with meaning. They spend their lives reacting, not creating. The successful move differently. They think long-term, act with intention, and measure progress not by applause, but by alignment. They ask, does this move me closer to my vision? And if the answer is no, they let it go, no matter how tempting. Purpose makes you ruthless with your time, because when you have a vision that burns inside you, distractions start to look like betrayal. You stop entertaining gossip, drama, and the opinions of those who gave up on themselves long ago. You learn that not everyone will understand your hunger, and that's okay. They weren't given your vision for a reason. You see, vision is the art of seeing what does not yet exist. It's the mental picture of the future you are building long before anyone else can see it. Visionaries live in two worlds at once, the world that is and the world that could be. They walk among doubters but think among dreamers. They live in faith when logic says failure. Walt Disney saw castles before there were bricks. Edison saw light before there was a bulb. Napoleon Hill saw millionaires before there were manuals for success. Vision is the seed of destiny, but it demands faith as its water. And here's where most people fall short. They start with belief, but abandon it when results don't come fast enough. They pray for progress, but quit at the first sign of pressure. They want success to arrive instantly, forgetting that even a seed must spend time underground before it sees the sun. Growth takes patience. It takes resilience. It takes the ability to hold the vision even when reality looks nothing like it. The strongest souls are not those who never doubt, but those who continue despite doubt. They keep faith alive when every circumstance tries to kill it. There's a story Hill often told about his interview with Thomas Edison. Edison said, "I never failed. I just found 10,000 ways that didn't work." That's the mindset of resilience. Every failure is feedback, every setback a signal to adjust, not to quit. You don't fail until you stop trying. Most people think success is a straight climb and upward path of progress. But success is more like a spiral staircase. You rise through repetition, not leaps. You go in circles, but each time a little higher, refining, learning, improving. It's not glamorous, it's not quick, but it's the only way that lasts. Resilience is not about strength alone, it's about endurance. The oak tree doesn't resist the wind, it bends with it. The successful adapt. They evolve. They learn the language of change instead of fighting it. Every generation faces its storms, economic, emotional, spiritual. But those storms do not destroy the strong. They reveal them. Pressure either breaks you or builds you, depending on what you're made of. Steel is forged in fire. Diamonds are created under extreme pressure. And greatness, true greatness, is born through struggle. That's why Napoleon Hill said, "Every adversity, every failure, every heartache carries with it the seed of an equal or greater benefit." But you must look for the seed. Most people only see the storm. They curse the rain, not realizing it's watering the roots of their destiny. When your vision is tested, when everything goes wrong, when doors close, when friends leave, when doubt screams louder than faith, that is when success is being shaped. That's when the universe asks, "How badly do you want it?" And most people whisper, "Not enough." But the greats, the ones who rise from ashes, who rewrite the rules, who make history, they roar back more than anything. Because purpose without persistence is just potential, and persistence without vision is just movement. But together, vision and persistence, they create miracles. The successful man doesn't ask for an easier path. He asks for stronger legs. He doesn't pray for fewer problems. He prays for greater wisdom. He doesn't wait for motivation. He builds momentum because he knows that the climb itself is what gives meaning to the summit. And when he finally reaches it, when the world calls him lucky, he smiles because he knows luck had nothing to do with it. It was faith, vision, and relentless action, invisible. Forces visible only to those who dare to dream and never quit. Belief, that invisible power that turns thought into reality. It cannot be seen, touched, or measured, yet it builds empires and heals nations. Every great achiever has lived by one law. Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. But belief is not wishful thinking. It is not blind hope. It is a quiet certainty that refuses to die, a fire that burns, even when the winds of doubt howl against it. Most people think they believe, but they don't. They confuse desire with faith. They want success, but only if it's convenient. They want abundance, but only if it comes without risk. They pray for change, but keep living as if change is impossible. And life, ever obedient, mirrors their contradictions. You cannot believe in success while expecting failure. You cannot speak victory while thinking defeat. The mind cannot serve two masters. It will always align with your dominant thought, not what you wish, not what you say, but what you expect. That's why belief is the rarest form of power, because true belief demands evidence of the unseen. It demands that you act before you see the result. It demands that you walk on water while others wait for the bridge. The greatest inventions, the greatest revolutions, the greatest movements all began in minds that dared to believe before the world could see. Belief precedes proof. Faith precedes fortune. Vision precedes validation. Napoleon Hill said that faith is a state of mind which may be induced or created by repeated affirmations of thought. In other words, belief is built like a muscle through repetition, through practice, through the constant rejection of doubt. Every time you choose faith over fear, your belief grows stronger. Every time you act with courage in the face of uncertainty, you shape the invisible substance of your future. And yet, most people feed their doubts more than their dreams. They wake up scrolling through other people's lives, comparing, complaining, wondering why theirs looks smaller. But the successful know gratitude expands what you have. Gratitude turns limitation into leverage. It's not a weakness, it's the highest form of strength. Gratitude is the art of seeing the seed in every storm. It trains your mind to focus on what is working, not what is missing. Because what you focus on expands. Focus on problems, they grow. Focus on blessings, they multiply. Hill understood this when he wrote about the law of attraction long before the phrase existed. He knew that a grateful mind vibrates at a frequency that draws more reasons to be grateful. It's not magic, it's magnetism. It's the alignment of your thoughts with abundance instead of scarcity. The man who complains attracts more to complain about. The man who appreciates attracts more to appreciate. Gratitude opens doors that force can't. It softens the hard edges of struggle and reveals the opportunities hidden inside. When Edison's lab burned to the ground, destroying years of work, he didn't curse fate. He said, "Thank God all our mistakes were burned up. Now we can start fresh again." That's gratitude in action, the power to turn tragedy into triumph. Adaptability is its twin. The world changes faster than ever. Technology evolves, markets shift, economies rise and fall. But one truth remains unshaken. The mind that can adapt survives. The mind that can evolve thrives. Most people cling to old habits, old ways of thinking, old identities. They resist change because change feels like death. But what they don't see is that resistance is the real killer. Adaptation is life. Growth is transformation. Every ending is simply the beginning of something greater if you have eyes to see it. Napoleon Hill said that one of the greatest weaknesses of mankind is the average person's familiarity with the word impossible. They use it to protect their comfort zones. But those who rise, those who lead, those who build legacies, they replace impossible with inevitable. They don't wait for the storm to pass. They learn to dance in the rain. You cannot become who you are meant to be without shedding who you once were. Success requires identity death, the letting go of the old self, the weak self, the fearful self. That's the secret the masses never grasp. You don't get success. You grow into it. You become someone capable of holding it. To rise, you must release. Release your excuses. Release your self-doubt. Release the version of you that was comfortable being average. Because success is not found in doing more, it's found in becoming more. More focused, more disciplined, more faithful, more grateful, more adaptable. When you expand who you are, you expand what you attract. The world doesn't give you what you want, it gives you what you are. So, if you want more, become more. If you want better, think better. If you want freedom, act like someone who refuses to be chained. Hill said, "You are the master of your fate, the captain of your soul." But mastery requires motion. It requires choice. It requires awareness, the daily discipline of steering your mind toward purpose, even when chaos surrounds you. And that's why so few ever make it. Because it's easier to drift than to direct. It's easier to complain than to commit. It's easier to live by emotion than by intention. But ease is the enemy of greatness. Comfort kills potential, and the path to mastery is paved with discomfort embraced, not avoided. The successful person welcomes struggle because they understand what it's doing, shaping their character, refining their purpose, strengthening their mind. The unsuccessful curse struggle because they only see the surface of pain, not the seed of progress beneath it. That's the difference. That's the reason. That's why most people never become successful. Not because they lack opportunity, but because they lack the inner transformation. That opportunity demands. And here's the truth you can't escape. The truth every great mind eventually discovers. You will never outrun your own thinking. You can change your job, your city, your friends, your circumstances, but until you change your mind, nothing truly changes. Because success does not begin with money or connections or luck. It begins with a decision to think differently. Most people live like leaves in the wind, blown by gossip, by fear, by the opinions of others. They react, they imitate, they follow. But the leaders, the creators, the builders of empires, they do not follow. They think. They take the invisible, the intangible, the unreal, and they will it into existence through the sheer force of thought. Napoleon Hill called it organized thought, the alignment of desire, faith, and action. It's what separates the dreamer from the doer, the talker from the titan. Because thought alone is not enough. It must be fused with emotion and expressed through action. That's when the invisible becomes visible. That's when ideas turn into industries and beliefs turn into realities. You want to know why most people never become successful? Because they're afraid to act while others are still talking. They wait until it's safe, until it's certain, until it's popular. But by the time they move, the opportunity is gone. The successful act in uncertainty. They bet on faith. They move before they're ready. Edison didn't wait for validation. Carnegie didn't wait for permission. Ford didn't wait for investors. They moved, and the world adjusted around their motion. Because success doesn't come to the prepared, it comes to the courageous. You see, every person is born twice, once into the world and once into purpose. That second birth, that awakening, happens the moment you realize that your mind was never meant to serve your fears, but to sculpt your future. The moment you stop existing and start creating. And that creation begins with the thoughts you allow to live inside you. You are not a victim of your mind. You are the author of it. And every single day, with every single thought, you are writing the story of who you are becoming. So, what story are you writing? One of excuses or one of evolution? One of fear or one of faith? One of comfort or one of conquest? The average man writes his story in pencil, easy to erase, easy to rewrite when the world criticizes. The successful write theirs in ink, permanent, unwavering, unapologetic, because conviction is the handwriting of destiny, and that conviction must be protected at all costs, because the world will test it. It will throw doubt, rejection, and failure at you to see if your belief can survive the fire. Every setback whispers, "Are you sure?" Every delay asks, "Do you still believe?" And if your answer is yes, truly yes, then nothing can stop you. You will be mocked before you are admired. You will be ignored before you are celebrated. You will be doubted before you are respected. But that is the law of success, the test before the testimony. Napoleon Hill said that one of the most common causes of failure is the habit of quitting. When one is overtaken by temporary defeat. Defeat is not failure, it's feedback. It's the universe checking how much you really want what you said you wanted. It's life asking, will you fight for it? And most people whisper no, but the ones who whisper yes, even when their voice trembles, are the ones who eventually roar. Every great success story is written in the ink of persistence. When you refuse to quit, the universe has no choice but to yield, because persistence wears down resistance. Day by day, blow by blow, attempt by attempt. Carnegie was rejected hundreds of times before his empire was built. Colonel Sanders was turned down over 1,000 times before someone tasted his recipe. Edison burned through thousands of experiments before he created light. They didn't stop because they were tired. They stopped because they won. The lesson? You are not defeated when you fail. You are defeated when you quit believing. And that belief must be renewed daily through gratitude, discipline, and faith. Gratitude for how far you've come. Discipline to stay the course. Faith that what you seek is already on its way. That's the holy trinity of achievement. Gratitude keeps your heart humble. Discipline keeps your hands moving. Faith keeps your eyes lifted to the vision. Together, they make you unstoppable. So many chase wealth, but forget its source. They think money creates power, but it's the other way around. Power creates money, and power begins in the mind. That's why Hill's philosophy was never just about riches. It was about the richness of spirit. the inner strength that draws success like a magnet. When you master yourself, you master your destiny. When you conquer your fears, you free your mind. When you align your thoughts with purpose, the entire universe begins to conspire in your favor. It may not happen instantly. It may not happen easily, but it will happen inevitably, because the law is simple and eternal. You become what you think about. Think fear, live in fear. Think doubt, drown in hesitation. Think faith, rise in strength. Think purpose, and you ignite creation itself. The most powerful weapon you will ever own is your mind. Use it to imagine, to decide, to believe. Use it to rewrite the story you've been told about what's possible. Because everything you see in this world, every building, every bridge, every invention, began as a single thought in the mind of a man who refused to let that thought die. The tragedy is not that people aim too high and miss, it's that they aim too low and hit. They settle for comfort when greatness was calling. They sell their potential for safety. They trade their purpose for approval. And they die not when their heart stops, but when their dream does. But you are not most people. You are here because something inside you refuses to settle. Something in your soul knows there's more within you, more waiting for you, more you are meant to give to this world. And that something is your reminder. It is your call to rise. It is the whisper of greatness that will not go silent. So rise. Rise and take ownership of your thoughts. Rise and build your vision with faith and fire. Rise and demand more from yourself than the world demands from you. Because success will not come to you, must go to it. And when you go with clarity, conviction, and courage, success has no choice but to meet you halfway. There is a greatness inside you waiting to be awakened. It's not hidden, it's forgotten, but you can remember. You can reclaim it. You can become it, because the truth Napoleon Hill discovered over a century ago still echoes through time. Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. That is not a slogan, it's a law written not in ink, but in energy. And once you understand it, once you live it, nothing, no man, no failure, no fear can stand in your way. So guard your mind. Feed it faith. Fuel it with vision. Discipline it with gratitude. And act as if success is already yours. Because it is. The moment you believe it, the moment you decide it, the moment you become it, that is when you stop being one of the many who dream and join the few who do. And that, my friend, is why most people never become successful. But you will, because you've heard the call. And once you hear it, you can never go back.